Okay, got it.
Welcome to the Flowering Daydream podcast, where daydreams become reality. I'm Charlene, I'm your host, and I have not been on here in a very, very, very long time. I apologize for anyone who likes to listen to this podcast because I've been busy. I have been busy making an Oracle card deck, 2.5 years in the making. Finally, it is here. It is published, the Sacred Reflections Oracle card deck. And we are going to be talking about that today. And I have some new recording equipment to be able to record on Zoom. So we'll see how this goes. Today, I am inviting my guest, Angela Santiago, who is the artist of the Sacred Reflections Oracle deck. She brought all of these images to life, and she painted 72 paintings to make our Oracle card deck. So she's here with us today. We're going to talk. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Charlene. Happy to be here.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. I've been wanting to interview you for a while, but I didn't want to do it until we had everything ready to go. So it was complete and we could just talk about it from that foundation. So, what I wanted to start with, well, if anybody's interested in creating their own Oracle card deck, let me just tell you how much more work this actually was than I ever could have imagined. I didn't have any resources. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't know how to use software. In fact, I can barely use my phone or my email. And so this was hard.
Yes, it was.
It was really challenging. And so thankfully, I had an amazing friend and client that I've had for years who's retired, who's a graphic designer. And she offered to help us with our project. And if she didn't help us, there's no way I could have figured out how to get it in the right format to get to the printers. That was like one of the biggest obstacles. And so she came along and she helped us get it ready to go to print. The downloading and the writing and the collaborating with Angela and the painting and all of that stuff was really fun and a really amazing part of the project. But all the other aspects of it were incredibly challenging. And honestly, I see why people go with publishers now because it's just so much work. So, anyways, we will talk a lot about that. If anybody's interested in publishing their own deck, just know that it takes a lot of sweat and blood and tears. But then you're here and you have this beautiful baby. I feel like we made a baby together. We were laughing so hard talking about like how funny that sounds, but we really birthed a baby together. It's like an art baby.
Yep. A very long art project.
Yeah, it took forever. I don't know how you painted 72 paintings. I mean, I would call her, I would get these downloads from the universe and I would keep this notebook nearby and I'd be like, okay, here's the scene I'm seeing in nature and here's the word and here's like the meaning. And I would call her and I would be like, Angela, do you think you can paint what's in my head? And she'd say, yeah, I'll give it a try. And of course she'd add her own like creative flair. And then she'd send me the painting and I'd be like, oh my God, that's perfect. Or I'd be like, I don't know, it needs warmer or cooler. Or we would just like go back and forth and try to get what was into my head onto the paper. How was that for you?
It was it was amazing actually because you would say, okay, this card needs a moon and purple clouds, and I'd just go for it. And I'd look at different pictures on Pinterest or on the internet and just go, okay, just to get creative ideas. And sometimes they would just like you would say something like the fear card, for instance, kind of came to me in a dream where you said, okay, we have to have these specific colors in here and the moon. And I like woke up and I was like, I need to immediately paint. And there would be times where I'd wake up with an idea at like 4 in the morning and start painting before work. Because you would say something and I'd think about it at night and I don't know, subconsciously would just like magically happen. So it happened quite frequently that way, actually.
Yeah, that was probably one of the more unexpected, fascinating parts of this, right? Where we would be focusing on a card for like a week or two, right? And I
Mhm.
would be like, here's the image. And you'd say, okay, I'm going to make time to paint this with my regular full-time job. And we would try to figure out when we were going to do it, but it would put us in a container of that card. So it's like we would be dreaming about it. We would be feeling the energy. It's like we were
Mhm.
sitting in the energy of whatever that card was that we were working on for the week. And having some of them were pretty wild experiences. Like you had an experience, I can't remember what card it was, where you were in the pool in the at night or something, and
Yeah.
it was one of the cards we were working on. It was just this like surreal energy. You're like, I feel like I'm in the deck.
Yeah, it was when I was swimming and I was looking up and it was like the ancestor, I believe it was the ancestor card. And back in my apartment complex, I have the pool and it's pretty like serene back where the pool area is. And I'm like swimming and I was like, I just had this crazy, like, I don't know, it was like a full moment of I was swimming through this card in the deck that was creating, and I painted it the next morning and it was just like, whoa, I felt like I was living in the deck.
Yeah,
But
it's
like the entire time we were creating this,
yeah,
it
so
was
it
wild.
I wasn't expecting to be in that the whole time. That was like 2
Yeah.
years of us doing
Yeah.
this. And it was just this constant energy. We couldn't do anything else. It was just like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you're just so enamored and immersed in the energy. It felt like it was like Alice in Wonderland, like we were in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. It's true.
This is why I think it's so spiritually charged. And everybody that's gotten the deck so far, like we've had several people reach out that have gotten the deck. Thank you so much for all your support and everybody that's
Yeah.
supporting us in purchasing the deck and working with the deck. But we've gotten a lot of feedback, and everybody that gets it says that it's so spiritually charged and it's very activating. Like they can
Yeah.
feel it like right away, and they just feel good after using it. It's very uplifting, the vibration of the deck and all of that.
Yeah.
And we worked really hard at being very conscious about that. Like everything we did was in a spiritual container. Like I went into a winter solstice ceremony before we even started this whole project, and I asked for an oracle card deck, and I asked for it to be all created by spirit, not me, you know. And I was like, I want you to tell me what to put in this deck, what's going to be the most helpful. And I really was very purposeful and intentional. And then when it started coming, it was like, oh, this isn't even me. This is like guided by nature and guided by spirit. It was so cool. But it put us in that container right off the bat of intentionality. And then you tell everybody the process that you would do when you started to paint. You went into a ceremony for each and every single painting.
Yes. Yes. So I would call in all my ancestors and my guides and my allies before every painting. And I'd also cleanse my space. I would cleanse my brushes, my table. I just do like a quick smoke cleanse. Um, and even my paints, my chair, my desk, everything around. And then with the intention of painting, it was like, it was a process before every single time I picked up a paintbrush. And then sometimes after as well, I would kind of close out the prayer in the container after each painting was finished. And then sometimes there was times where I felt a little stuck, like I would start the painting, it didn't look quite right, and I'd take photos and I'd send it to you, Charlene, and say, what do you think about this? And it was just such a great collaboration to get these paintings done. Sometimes you're like, oh, that needs a little bit darker, or you would have a different vision that came in a download for you when of what I was actually painting. So I just do like these little adjustments, and it was just like the next morning, I'm like, oh, I got it. Because I remember specifically the stairs, and it was one of the first paintings I could not.
Yeah, that was the
I've never painted
higher self
stairs.
card.
Yes, I could
The
not
higher
paint
self.
stairs. I've never painted stairs in my entire life, and before this project, I was a fairly new painter. I'd only painted about 2 years, and I was like, I don't know how to do stairs going up into the clouds. And that one took probably like 6 or 7 tries to get the stairs right.
Yeah, there was a few where you really had to spend like 2, 3, 4 weeks on one painting, and then some were just done
Yeah.
in like 30 minutes, you know?
Yes.
Was kind of
Yes.
interesting to see that process for you, but also, you know, there were some that you painted that weren't my vision that I was stuck on too with my vision. Like I would have this vision, but it wasn't a paintable vision. It's like that's
Mm.
not paintable. We can't paint that. It's got to be more translatable into the nature because that's the theme of the deck, right? And so I would tell you, and you'd be like, well, let me sit on it for a little bit. And so there's a few that you just like came to your own download on and were able to translate it into a nature based painting as well. So it was quite the process.
Yes.
And
Yes, it was.
we're so happy it's done.
Yeah.
Finished, complete.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
turned out better than I ever could have imagined. I mean, seeing all your paintings in like mini size is the coolest thing ever. And there's so many of them. They're everywhere. They're
Yeah,
everywhere.
it was a lot of fun. There was definitely like moments. And you're right. Like some of the paintings took me like 30 minutes from start to finish. And then others took days and days and days to finish and complete and, adjust and start over. So, and
Yeah.
some
Well,
where I thought were going to be super simple, like the sun card. I was like, oh, that's going to be so easy. I can whip that out in, an hour. And it took days to get that sun right.
I love that card. That
Yeah.
card's come up a lot recently in people's readings
Yes.
too.
Yeah. And then like the purification card, which I thought was going to be impossible, which I'd never painted. This is light shining through a window with rain. I was like, I have no idea how to paint that. And I actually got that done pretty quickly.
That one is so cool. I love that card so much. It
Yeah.
looks like real three-dimensional.
Right. Right.
Yeah. What are your top, like, if you had to pick five, I know they're all our favorites, but like, what were your top five to paint or the energy to be immersed in, or like, what was the funnest for you?
I would say I grabbed a few here. So the rebirth card, which
Mm,
just the colors are so beautiful.
I love that. The purple and the
That one's
gold.
just like just just magical with the clouds and the sun. Definitely the purification card,
Yeah,
which I absolutely love. The rain, the high priestess card, I really love.
that's pretty.
Just the
Yeah.
purple and the moon, and I feel like that was a really, really fun one. And then, oh, and I really have to say, I love the fear card,
Yeah, that
which
was
is,
cool. That was one of yours.
yeah,
That was one of your downloads.
yeah, this was one where we couldn't quite figure out how to paint it. And this one came to me actually in a dream with the hanging cliff. I was like, fear like jumping off and into the light. I just thought that was a really fun one. So,
That
I
one's
mean,
cool.
there's several of them. The community one with the birds, really cute. The
Oh, I
birds are
love
all
that one
talking.
too.
Or this, I'm sorry, this is a communication card. Yeah, there's a lot of fun ones here.
Okay, I picked out my favorites. This one that you painted, the unconditional love.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God. I don't know what it
yeah,
is about this. I just want to lay in this meadow and bask in the flowers. And then this one's so cool. So everything that you painted and all the images that came were all obviously like Pacific Northwest images mostly.
yeah,
And there were a couple that were not, and they were from our own like personal experiences together. And one of them was from when we went to Iceland together.
yeah.
And it's the
The
power
power
card.
card.
Yeah. So this is an actual place that we were standing behind this waterfall in this
Yes.
cave in Iceland, looking out behind it. And it was just the waterfalls there were so ginormous and so full of power that when I was thinking about personal power, like I just kept seeing that place in Iceland that we went to. So that's the only place that's like kind of out of the Pacific Northwest that we painted. But this one's so pretty, the spiritual support where you're going through the whimsical
Oh
forest. You
yeah.
did really good
That's the
spirits
little
there.
fairy garden. That one actually there was a couple of them that didn't quite translate in the right when it
Like,
goes to print that
yeah,
are much more vibrant in real life. This is another one that rites of passage, and this is more of like a Tuscany,
yeah,
Italy themed feeling. I mean, still nature, but it wasn't something like local to like the Pacific Northwest. But
yeah,
I've been to Italy and trust me,
yeah.
that's what it kind of looks like.
Well, this one, I just wanted to be this card when you painted
Yeah.
it, the beauty card.
Yeah.
Oh, so pretty.
So
And
lovely.
there's a few shadow cards in here that we put in here that we were trying to make look bad, but Angela just can't make them look bad. They doesn't give you bad, not bad, but like, it doesn't give you the shadowy, dark feeling like this one. It's so pretty, the frustration card. Why did you paint this so pretty?
I don't know. You kept me like, that's too pretty. That's too pretty. I'm like, it's perfect.
Every time she'd send it back, I'm like, darker, darker. I'm like, you're just
This
painting these too great.
actually one of my favorite ones too is the boredom card.
Oh yeah, that one too. I was like, I
I
kept telling you, it
love
still
this
looks too
one.
good.
It's just like this little desolate, deserty like tree, like this dead tree with a couple of rocks. And I don't know, it just like to me, it really felt like boredom. And I remember you were like, can you paint sand? I'm like, sand? I don't know how to paint sand. that'll take me, do I paint each grain? I mean, how does that work? I have no idea how to paint sand on
I saw
acrylic.
this image in my head. It was just like a desert, right? Like
Yeah,
dunes with nothing there. And so I was
yeah.
like, God, how do we get this into a painting, you know? It was hard. It was hard to translate everything. This one's so pretty too, the gratitude card. Oh my God, all those colors.
Yeah,
What a gorgeous painting.
yeah, that
So the
one's
cool
fun.
the cool part about this is that us working together is kind of a unique situation. So typically when you make a create an oracle card deck, you would pay an artist if you're not already the artist, like an outright fee, and then you'd own the rights to the art and you guys would be done. But with this, what we decided to do was once we were done with the deck, that you were going to put your website up and you were going to put the individual paintings up for sale as prints
Mhm.
aside from the card deck. So like pretty soon, well, there's a couple on your website right now, but
Yeah.
Angela's in the process of uploading these paintings as available prints separate from the card deck so that if there are any cards that you're just like so in love with in the deck and you want to have them as prints, Angela is going to be selling those on her website. And do you remember what your website is? We did it together. I can't remember. I think
We
it's
are
like
so terrible. I think
I
it's
know you guys.
Angela.
I'll put it in the podcast notes, but I think I want to say it's Angela dash
Yeah.
Santiago
Yes. Yes, that's it.
art.com.
Yes.
Well, I don't know, you guys. Don't
I
listen
think
to
it's
me right
Angela
now.
dash Santiago art.
Okay.
I
Well,
believe.
we'll put it in the notes for everybody. But yeah, if
Yeah.
there's any paintings that you or any prints of these paintings that you would love to have, I think they'll be available. I can't remember the size. It's like 12 by 16 or something like that. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's actually 8. I believe it's 11 by 15 or smaller.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise it gets too big and distorts
Yeah,
the
it gets
painting.
too, you can't go bigger because it gets pixelated. So,
Yeah. So that'll be there. So yeah, so it was really an amazing process. And now that it's complete, after everything that we had to do to get it here, now it's boots on the ground. When you self-publish, I also knew this was going to be a lot. I didn't know it was going to be this much. And so I'm trying to work a normal full regular job plus, be a mom and run my online school and my TikTok and my podcast and all this stuff. So I'm trying to figure out where the best place to spend time is and tell you guys about it. I don't know how often I'm going to be back on the podcast because I'm a little bit more on TikTok now than I am here. But I'm trying to figure out how to get this out into the world. So we have 5 social channels going, which are it's called Sacred Reflections Oracle, are the handles on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube. We have an Etsy shop. The deck is on Amazon. We also have it on its own website, sacredreflectionsoracledeck.com. And then it's also on my website, charlenewindes.com, which I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep that up because I think I'm just going to focus on Sacred Reflections as the business and not so much my name anymore. But I'll keep you guys up to date. But we're trying to get it out there. We have it in a couple shops. It's at Kindred Healing Center in Everett, which is a beautiful place if you live in the north end of Seattle, Washington, for healing services and events. And it's also over at the Anamkara Healing Center in Spokane. Shout out to Hannah. Um, and so it's available for wholesale, but because we self-published and because the deck price is higher than like a publisher price, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But if you are interested in carrying the deck, let us know. Reach out and we will talk to you about wholesale. Well, this was fun. Thanks for coming on,
always.
Angela. I don't know what else to say except I love you. You're an amazing artist. It was fun to watch your art like go through a progression too since we did it over 2 years. It was like some as you went through painting, you just got into this groove and you could tell within the energy of the deck. So it's kind of fun to see that progress throughout the deck too. So I don't know if anybody can tell. And also, we didn't plan this. It just came in as a download, but the very first card in the deck is abundance.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Which is
so
so
cool.
interesting.
Isn't
I I love that card too.
and then guess what the last card in the deck is? The yes card.
Yeah.
So if you think about the sandwich of the energy between abundance and yes, it's like, yes. I mean, what was our intentions? Our intentions was to bring healing and empowerment to the world with this deck and also to, bring abundance. We were thinking, how can we do both? How can we as healers, combine the two of those because it's so hard to do that. Like you're not ever thinking about money when you think about healing and empowerment and spirituality. That's just not part of it. You're thinking about energy. You're thinking about the outgoing and the incoming of energy. And so when we made this deck, it was like, okay, we're going to put our heart and soul into this, and we're going to bring this beautiful spiritual gift into the world. And we're going to hope that everybody receives it with love and money. Both. We hope, shoot. Um, so that was our intention, was to bring something really amazing into the world that was an empowering tool. In the beginning of the guidebook, there it does tell you, if you need a guidebook, there's the guidebook. I wrote it. And it tells you some layouts, some really cool layouts, like decision-making layouts. It tells you relationship readings, shadow readings, forecast birthday readings, that kind of stuff. And it tells you a little bit how to hook the deck up, how to use it. But if you've never used a deck before, like really all you have to do is cleanse it, whatever way that you do energy cleansing. And then you just hold it to your heart and just ask that it speaks only to your higher self so that there's no interference in energy. And that's pretty much it. You just be very intentional when you're shuffling the cards. Is that how what you would say, or would you add anything to that?
No, yeah, just connect with it. And that's what I do is when I want to connect to something like a crystal or stone, I just bring it to my heart and say, please, ancestors, guides, allies, help me connect with this stone or with this deck. And also one other reminder is if you are using this a lot to re-cleanse it periodically because it
Yeah.
does kind of collect energy. So
Yeah, I like that, especially if other people touch it,
yeah, yeah,
because then their energy gets mixed in a little bit. So,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, we just wanted to come on here, say hello. It's been a very long time. I wanted to bring Angela on to talk about the process of the deck. And we're here. If you have any questions, let us know. I'll put all the information in the show notes to find Angela and the art if anybody wants to get a print, and then also where you can find the deck. And we're just so thankful and appreciative for all the positive feedback. Thank you for all the shares on the internet and all of the reviews and all of the love and all of the support. It has been such an amazing process, and we're just so grateful for all of you. So thank you for being here. And this is the Flowering Daydream podcast. I'm Charlene. I'm your host, where daydreams become reality. I forgot how to stop it.